Brooke. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I just wanted to thank you for taking part in our 5-day food diary.
You're welcome.
So we're going to be, I've analyzed it a little bit. We're going to be going over it today, just some areas of, not concern, but just where like sugary intake was a little bit higher than others. And we're going to talk about why that might not be such a great thing for our oral health.
Okay.
So I guess to start out, while going through your diary, I was going through and circling some of the foods that have sugars that are obvious and then some that are hidden too, because sometimes we don't think about things such as carbohydrates and stuff like that that would be a sugary, what we call karyogenic food, which basically means that it kind of promotes the forming of cavities, if not halted. So the reason that we do these dietary analysis is just so that we can kind of see where you're at, see what's happening outside of the dental clinic, because when you come in here, you know, we get a brief overall history, but we don't know what goes on in your day-to-day life. You know, things get busy. It's easy to get fast food, which has lots of sugars hidden in it and stuff like that. So we just kind of like to get an idea of where you are so that we can properly treat you. So I'm going to go through the how cavities are formed right now. So basically there's 4 components we need in order for a cavity to form. We, of course, need the tooth resistance, so the tooth has to be a susceptible host for the bacteria. And then the bacteria, which not everyone has. Some people have never had a cavity, they're very lucky, but cavities can be passed from person to person. They are contagious, so once you get that bacteria in your mouth, you have a greater chance of forming a cavity. And then with that, if you are eating a karyogenic diet, which is just sugary, sticky foods, things that are going to cling to your teeth, a little bit harder to get off, things that will stick into like the pits of your teeth, that's what we consider to be like a karyogenic diet, just because when things do stick to our teeth, they form like an acid, and that acid eats away at our tooth, which is what forms the cavity. And then our salivary factors, our saliva acts as a buffering system for our mouth. So if you have dry mouth or you're on medications that reduce that, it can put you at a higher risk for cavity formation, just because there's not as much saliva in there kind of cleansing your mouth and keeping it hopefully cavity free. So now that we've gone over that, do you have any questions? No? Okay. So moving on, I'm just going to go over a couple tips to reduce that acid that I was talking about once we eat those sugary foods, which, I mean, they're kind of inevitable, especially this time of the year. So if you are eating anything that has sugar or is really sticky, it's really important, especially if you're a sipper, if you sip pop throughout the day or coffee with cream, anything like that. Our mouth is always trying to do this process that's called remineralizing, which is basically our teeth are kind of broken down when we take in those acids such as pop, coffee, sugars, and our saliva works to remineralize it and build it back up so that our teeth are strong. So if you're sipping all throughout the day, it's really important that you're drinking or at least swishing with water in between, because water can kind of help to clean out your mouth and just kind of give the saliva a little boost and a little help in that remineralization process. And then also, if you are like a candy eater, instead of eating candy, if you wanted to try and eat like gum, like a sugar-free gum, there's this ingredient called xylitol, and it actually promotes like salivary flow, which is, again, what I talked about, that helps to keep our teeth nice and strong. So if you're a frequent candy eater, maybe trying to switch over to chewing gum instead with that active ingredient in it might be a good option for you too. And then we went over the your Canberra, so your
carries risk.
Thank you. Yep. Your carries risk, which you were at a moderate due to medications that reduce the salivary flow. So that's a really big component because, as I said, your saliva is liquid gold, and that's what we want in your mouth. So having a medication that has that side effect, we want to keep a close eye on that and make sure that you're not experiencing dry mouth, because that's...
I'm not, so
okay,
I'm not
good.
worried.
Good. And then there was just a couple other reasons, such as just some visible plaque and stuff like that. And then, but your periodontal class looks great. You don't have any bone loss, so you have a healthy mouth. So I just want to go over ways that we can kind of create a change in maybe your diet every day, or just kind of goals that we want to set for you for your next appointment. We can talk over them. And then before we do that, I just wanted to kind of go over some of the foods that we recommend. So because most of 3 out of the 5 days that you did your diary, you were at a moderate sugar level. So that means that you took in a decent amount of sugar on those days, and then the other 2 were actually high. So what we want to do to try and eliminate or reduce that number, I'm not going to say eliminate it because that's not very practical, but reduce it, is to avoid candies that are slow in dissolving, because they sit in our mouth and they just kind of slowly eat away at our teeth and everything like that. So we want to promote eating more of like cheeses, hard vegetables, crunchy fruits. Those actually work really good because the crunchiness actually like wipes off a little bit of the plaque off of your teeth. Mm-hmm. So they can be a really good option as well. Also like nuts if you are a nut eater. And then I know it's not as tasteful, but black coffee is better than with creamer because obviously the cream has sugar in it. Mm-hmm. But if you have to, do that to get by, then I get it.
Like black coffee.
I get it. I'm a cream drinker as well. So you just want to make sure that you're switching with water, drinking water throughout the day, like I said, just to kind of help your mouth out a little bit. Okay. So before I let you go today, we're just going to formulate kind of a plan of action on how we are going to reduce your sugar intake, and basically just in hopes to really reduce that cavity formation. Not saying you have cavities, but these are just kind of some preventative steps that we want to take. Mm-hmm. So is there anything that you can think of that you could maybe try and cut back on, or?
Well, I do drink coffee with creamer often. And then when I eat out, I usually get soft drinks, so I could try to get water instead.
Yeah.
Although in the morning, my coffee is kind of necessary, especially with school, because of the caffeine I need. Yeah. So maybe I'll just try to not use as much creamer, maybe use a sugar-free one instead.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and then just like bring a bottle of water with you to school, and in between coffee drinks, just take a couple sips of water. So yeah, I think that's a really great start, and we'll kind of go from there next time.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming in, Brooke.
Thank you.